organisers of the e-hailing drivers march in Johannesburg say they expect about 1,000 people to take part in the event. The drivers belonging to Uber and Bolt, among others, will march to the offices of the Gauteng Transport MEC, Jacob Mamabolo. This is to demand that government regulates the sector. Malungelo joining me now, and he is in Parktown. Malu, good morning to you once again. So the march about to take place, the understanding is that they expect about 1,000 people to gather. As soon as that figure is possibly matched, then this march goes to the MEC. What exactly are they going to demand of MEC Mamabolo?
Hi there, Koli. You're right. In fact, those e-hailing drivers starting to arrive here at Beetroot's Park in Parktown. In fact, I want you just to see some of them. They are behind us. And so as soon as that number of 1,000 drivers arrive here, then they will proceed to the offices of Gauteng MEC of Transport, Jacob Mamabolo. It's interesting, Koli, because these drivers are saying that the organisers rather of this march are saying that they're expecting over 1,000 people, and some of those people coming from as far as Pretoria to be part of this march. Of course, Koli, this is day 3 of this march or this protest or shutdown by the e-hailing drivers, calling on government to essentially regulate the sector, saying that this is in their best interest. If government regulates the sector, this will essentially assist them as e-hailing drivers. I want to bring in the spokesperson of the e-hailing drivers here in the country. Vatu, thank you so much for your time. I want us to, just for a moment, to decode this regulation. What exactly do you mean?
All right, within a regulated framework, we can hold people and organizations accountable, because then regulation enforces that there must be accountability and there must be compliance with certain terms that will be stipulated within that framework. So let's take an example to safety, right?
Yeah.
We believe that everybody deserves safety, and the technology in itself can be built to be safe. But there's a reluctance to do so by app companies, and because we see there's no goodwill and willingness to do so, let government regulate so that it is law. It must be forced to say that proper vetting must be done. Proper vetting of riders must be done, so that we understand that who's getting into vehicles, who's driving customers, so that everybody's safe. You know, we can't continue with the current circumstances of riders not feeling safe.
Does then that means that each and every driver that's here would need a permit from government if we're talking regulation?
So if government then, or the president signs in the amended bill, it recognizes e-hailing, and then once e-hailing is recognized, it means a proper permitting process can be then established. And with a proper permitting process, that means we can establish guidelines as to what are the barriers to entry within industry, what is the vetting, what minimum requirements do drivers need to meet, what are the minimum requirements of minimum standards for the vehicle, and what is the general upkeep that will then be expected. That doesn't exist in this moment. And then this then gives way to a situation whereby you've got a variety of cars offering the same service at the same price point, but the operational costs are not the same.
I want us to talk about intimidation and what we saw in Pretoria yesterday. That, in a way, has raised questions about this action that you're having. I want your thoughts on why what happened in Pretoria was allowed to happen to start.
Look, it wasn't allowed, and we intervened quite strongly so. We assisted in recovering the firearm. We also further went on to hand over the involved individuals to law enforcement. Our position remains that we will not stand for any criminality. We will work hand in hand with law enforcement to root out all criminality, because you know what, our cause is worthy. You know, this is a real concern we have as e-hailing sector, and we're really dependent on society to support us and echo our concerns. So we can't let people who want to misbehave, undermine legal authorities, to steal away from this cause.
Quickly, on the issue of intimidation, I'm sure there's many drivers or Uber or e-hailing drivers that are not part of this industrial action who are fearing for their lives, fearing of being intimidated by you guys.
Here's the challenge, right? Our protest, we're clear that we've applied to be from here to the MEC's office. We did announce that there will be other criminal activity because we've seen in the past that criminals do take advantage of our protest action, right? It is criminal. If you can report it to us and if you can identify where these things are happening, we've got a number of marshals we can deploy into that area to get information and then inform law enforcement, or we'll inform law enforcement directly. You know, this is an issue we need to...
Pardon me, are you then saying if any one of your drivers is involved in a criminal activity, you will hand that person to law enforcement officials?
Absolutely, without a doubt. Because it's criminal and it is against the law, we are clear that we want to operate within the limits of the law.
Jacob Mamabolo has said that there's a mediation team that's been set. Why are you not allowing that process, you know, to unfold?
You know, we can't go into mediation. We are reluctant to go into mediation with the organizations we are accusing of exploiting us, right? So we are saying to government, regulate. Don't make us sit at the table.
So, in other words, pardon me, you're saying that you're not prepared.
You should allow me to answer in completion, right? I'm not saying we're not prepared. Yeah. We don't understand what the objective of the mediation is. Uber and Bolt are exploiting us. We are holding government accountable to put in a framework to protect us. It's not that we're not prepared. We are prepared to engage with government and give them our position and share our insights, and we expect them to build a framework that will protect us. Mediation is a short-term process. It's voluntary, and there's nothing binding about it.
So until there's something binding, then...
We need a legally binding solution in place. Voluntary mediation is nothing but a conversation. We want a legal framework that will defend participants within this industry. If they were open to real mediation, they would have responded to the many memorandums we've submitted to Bolt and Uber. You know, there would have been participants in the first round of mediation Mamabolo tried to establish. No goodwill was established, and we're not going to be naive and expect that goodwill will be established now because Mamabolo has promised it, because we are now in protest action.
But how sure are you then that you will get what you're looking for this time around?
Because we are asking government to do it. It's government's responsibility. We are putting government on the hot seat to say, take accountability for the people of your nation. Don't ask us to be a foreign company to take care of us or to do good by us. Ensure that they do it, enforce that they do it, or kick them out of our country.
Is there faith in government?
What other choice do we have but to have faith and advocate and continually lobby and protest and put pressure on government to hear us? This is why our appeal is to society to support our call and echo our sentiments.
Will you continue? I mean, if you... At their time frames, I mean, are you giving government time frames? You can hand over a memorandum. People in this country march to government offices almost every week, every month. In most cases, nothing really happens. What happened? Have you given them time frames?
So, yes, we have a stipulated time frames in the memorandum. Yeah. We do appreciate that the legislative process may take time, but we are also cognizant of the fact that there are immediate implementations or immediate action that can be taken. National Land Act Section 66 stipulates that Minister and the MEC can intervene and establish fair determining structures with relevant authorities, right? They have that power. So there's a lack of political will from the Minister and the MEC to use those powers to come to our intervention. And this is why we are now in the streets to protest, to say, why are you in office if you're not going to serve us? Who do you really serve?
All right. Batu Mbelenga there. He's the spokesperson of the e-hailing drivers. He's actually quite clear. He says government needs to serve them as South Africans, just like most South Africans. Really, I mean, we've seen people protest, march to government offices, government ministers, MEC. The outcome really of those protests or march, really, some of it is really not what people essentially expect, but whether they will get what they're looking for is anyone's guess.
Malungelo boy, thank you very much for that update. He's live for us in Johannesburg, Parktown, to be exact, ahead of that march.